victory. We're here at Domaine Carneros in Northern California, where world-class wineries, rolling vineyards, and this weekend, world-class racing will come together. We're back. It's the 2025 GT World Challenge America season, powered by AWS, and we're about to begin. And like the finest vintage, this championship is a masterful blend of teamwork and talent, bringing together global manufacturers, elite drivers, and some of the most exhilarating racing on the planet. Last season, we intensed fierce battles, dramatic comebacks that all led to championship glory. But this year, with new driver pairings, new rivalries, and a stacked grid, the competition is guaranteed to be intense and full-bodied as ever. With 19 cars and 38 drivers ready to uncork the action across North America, this championship boasts its strongest manufacturer present yet, including Ferrari, Mercedes-AMG, BMW, Porsche, Aston Martin, and McLaren, just to name a few. America's 7-round tour will take us to some of the most iconic venues in U.S. motorsport, culminating with the grand finale at the racing capital of the world in October. And while this is just the first step for our North American Championship across 4 continents, the GT World Challenge global calendar sees 30 events, 53 races, making it a vintage year for worldwide competition. Europe has already swirled and sampled the action with its recent prologue at Paul Ricard and returns there in 2 weeks for its season opener. Legendary circuits like Monza, Barcelona, and Nürburgring are on the menu, along with the blue ribbon CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, where up to 70 GT3 cars will battle for endurance racing's ultimate prize. Meanwhile, Asia's championship uncorks its season on the same weekend as Paul Ricard in Malaysia, before traveling to Indonesia, Thailand, Japan, and an exciting new street circuit in Beijing. Australia got an early taste of GT action with the Bathurst 12-hour in February, though it wasn't part of its domestic championship, which officially kicks off next weekend at Phillip Island. The series will then bring the season to a smooth, well-aged finish to New Zealand this November. The GT World Challenge is just one part of a rich and complex racing landscape. SRO's jam-packed 2025 schedule offers even more GT action worldwide. The Intercontinental GT Challenge features 5 of the most iconic circuits. A brand new Chinese GT4 championship just debuted in Shanghai last weekend. And national GT3 and GT4 series continue to thrive across America, Asia, Australia, and Europe. And it all starts right here at one of the most challenging circuits in North America. So who will rise to the occasion and savor the sweet taste of victory? Pour yourself a glass. GT World Challenge America is back.
Nearly 5 months of waiting. It's finally over. Today, a new season of GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, dawns in green Northern California, where hope, like the vines of the nearby vineyards, springs eternal. The top GT teams in North America have assembled with 19 cars on the entry list for this season opener, with former champions and series newcomers alike chomping at the bit to kick off a brand new campaign. Hello and welcome to Northern California's Sonoma Raceway. Since 1968, this track has been challenging the world's best, and today the challenge belongs to GT World Challenge America, and we're about to get going here in just a few short minutes. It's a jam-packed grid with star power and car power aplenty up and down the field. We've got returning champions ready to do battle. We have newcomers ready to make their names. And the venue where they'll make it happen is right here at Sonoma Raceway. And to give you a tour of this facility, we welcome in our very own Calvin Fish.
Sonoma Raceway is a huge challenge. I'm up here in turn 2 with Colin Brown. He swept both races here last year in Pro with George Kurtz aboard the CrowdStrike Racing entry number 04. And Colin, I really feel this racetrack slaps you in the face immediately with a challenge up here into turn 1. Talk us through turn 1 and how you set the car up for this very tricky turn 2.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, it all starts kind of down there at the bottom of the hill. You're flat out in 5th gear, looking up towards the top of the apex, kind of where we're standing here. And it's all about carrying that entry speed, light on the brake for turn 2, getting the car balanced to get it rotated and turned up over the crest here.
And the speed is big down there. You're about $145 as you approach that corner. You come down a gear, what is your gear selection
you're
through there?
5th gear, and then kind of carrying the 5th all the way up till this braking point for turn 2, where you're clicking down a couple gears and then trying to just balance the thing on the brakes. It's really on the limit over the crest.
Turn 6 is also known as the carousel. It'd be a fun ride if you get it right. Colin, how do you get it right? Here's a tricky approach.
That's a good question. I wish I knew all the time. But yeah, we're up over the crest in kind of 5th gear, light brake over the crest. I think the hardest thing about this corner is here we are on the entry phase. You don't see the middle or the exit of this corner at all. So it's about setting yourself up in the right spot here. There's a couple different approaches. You can kind of take a wide arcing late apex. Some guys run right around the bottom. That's where they find the most grip. But I think it's all about balancing the car on the entry phase and then a good early throttle on the exit to get that drive down to turn 7.
One of the more exciting entries in the field this year is the number 99 Random Vandals BMW M4, co-driven by Kenton Cook and this man, Connor De Filippi, BMW factory pilot. Connor, it's been a dozen years since you last competed here. Turn 9, this little chicane here, is it a legitimate overtaking spot here in the race?
It most definitely is. It's probably one of the most critical corners on the circuit. We have a long straightaway from the S's leading down here into this brake zone. Obviously, overtaking here, but also leading to the next big overtaking down in turn 11. So you want to hug this as tight as you can without taking the mirror off on the tires, getting a solid exit. So you want to stay a little tighter here on the right to get a solid exit out of the second portion of the chicane to lead you down into turn 11, which is again one of the next overtaking spots on the circuit.
It's a big lap here at Sonoma Raceway and it finishes off here in turn 11. Got a big approach speed and you need a lot of patience to get through here effectively, it seems.
You most definitely do. Turn 11 is the prime piece of real estate for overtaking, one of the fastest corners just before it as you come down here to the brake zone. Last lap, you want to have your elbows out. That's where the action happens, and let's hope you're the first one to the finish line.
Can you use this curb? Do you try and get the right front down on here, get a little bit of grip?
I find you want to be in tight, you want to get good rotation and get out as fast as you can. So if you get out here too far, you're just putting yourself out there to get overtaken.
And then that's a drag race to the finish line, right?
Drag race to the finish line. Luckily we got some turbos to get us there.
Good stuff.
And welcome back to the grid here in Sonoma Raceway. And Connor De Filippi's co-mate here this weekend in the BMW is this guy, Kenton Cook, who we saw a lap with him around the track with Calvin Fish, but you did a pretty good one today as you put it on pole to kick off race 1 of this season. We've been talking about driver pairings that could lead this season. Why will it be you two?
I mean, I hope it's us, you know, so there's a lot of good competition out here, obviously, so we're going to just try to do our best and hopefully we end up on the top.
And as you get your final preparations, is there anything that you run through mentally to get yourself set for race day?
Don't screw up turn 1, basically, so yeah, try not to throw it off and be tidy and try not to let these guys by the best I can. And another Mercedes is strong in the long run, but I think we'll also have a pretty good weapon here to finish the race when I hand it off to Connor.
Well, as Kenton talks about that Mercedes, right next to Kenton as they kick off will be Philip Ellis as Regulator Racing returns for this season. I was talking to Jeff Burton ahead of this weekend and said that they are looking for not only a better position in the championship this year, even talked about potentially winning this thing overall. And Jeff, your bullet is in the car right now to kick off this race alongside Kenton Cook. How quickly do you think we'll find Philip Ellis at the top of this pack?
Well, knowing Philip and knowing what this car can do, I think it's going to be pretty quick. And I hope they're not going to tussle a lot because we need him to get in front of him to make that little gap that we're talking about. I mean, that's why we do this.
You guys are running the alternate strategy again this season. We'll see you in the second stint of this race. It worked well last year, picked up 2 wins. Why are you leading off with this again?
Because it's different. I don't think anybody else likes this. I don't think anybody else does this. And quite honestly, he and I like it, what we're doing for both of us.
Well, it is working for Jeff Burton. We'll see how it goes. And Mackay Stevens is in the race car. I'm with Mikel Grenier, his co-partner, as you guys start on row 2. What I love about seeing this grid, of the first 6 cars, 5 are of different manufacturers, the Mercedes seeing 2. What favors the Mercedes at Sonoma?
I would say normally we are strong in medium high-speed corners, normally good on tire deck as well, so let's see in the race. BMW has a lot of power, so they might be difficult to overtake, but we will see after the first few laps and after the pit stop.
How are you and Mackay gelling as teammates so far? Do you like a similar setup for the Mercedes?
Yeah, so far we drive the same kind of setup. He's very good, a good driver. He's new to GT3, but he already has a lot of experience, so it's really fun to share with him, and hopefully we can get a few wins this season.
Well, as Mikkel just said, Mackay Stevens is new to GT3, called the experience surreal. We did see him compete in GT4, now in that GT3 Mercedes with John Farrow Racing. Guys, it's getting serious down here. You can see the cars getting shut on this GT3 Mercedes. It's time for race 1 here in Sonoma.
Just about, and we're now just about a minute or so away from starting the engines and getting a brand new season underway. So much excitement, and a lot of it, Calvin, has to do with the growth of this field 1 year to the next.
Yeah, massive field here. 19 cars, 14 of those cars are stacked into that Pro-Am entry, 8 manufacturers on the grid. And as Amanda said, we've got 5 different manufacturers represented up in those first 3 rows of the grid, the top 6, with 2 Mercedes kind of breaking that kind of pattern of single manufacturers in the top 6. So they look strong, but as you know, Mikkel alluded to, the BMWs have been tough here this week. Unfortunately for the other Random Vandals machine that have been really fast in practice, they had a clutch issue, a clutch sensor issue that stalled them out at the back of the pack here. So they've got a lot of work to do. So it's Random Vandals kind of top and tailing this field here today.
Good news is the team has told us they feel like the issue's been addressed. They should be able to race their way forward to the front of the field. We'll keep an eye on Bill Oberlin and Varun Choksi, who have to start at the back of the pack. That said, we know there's pace in the BMW. They can definitely get it done if need be. BMWs all throughout this field, and this is the new Evo version of the BMW M4 GT3 that's very, very strong, and it's about to fire up with the rest of the grid. Here to give the command to start engines, the CTO of Octa Pharma. Please welcome Ray Reyes.
All right, guys, let's do this. Gentlemen, start your engines.
The words we've been waiting about 5 months to hear. It's a long wait from the Indy 8 Hour to the start of a brand new season here, but finally we hear the GT3 engines roar to life on a race grid, and we're about to turn them loose. 18 will take the start, Calvin. Unfortunately, we lost one in qualifying. A very strange crash from Kyle Marcelli in the LAB Motorsports by GT Racing Porsche, and it sounds like they're done for the weekend.
Yeah, that's a real shame, because Kyle and that group were testing here last week, and I understand he was one of the fastest in that test. So they had high hopes coming into this weekend. Hopefully they can regroup and be at our next event at COTA in 4 weeks' time. But the big difference in the championship rules this year is no tire warmer. So all of these drivers on these formation laps will really have to tread carefully, try and generate as much energy into those Pirelli P0s and be ready to go, as we see a bit of an issue here for the AF Corsa machine. Doesn't seem like Schreibman's car has come to life there.
That is the only AM-class car entered in the field. Hopefully they can get that thing fired up. But in the meantime, this is the way they'll line up. The Rover pole position overall went to Kenton Cook, Random Vandals Racing with Philip Ellis alongside. Mackay Stevens will start third, and next to him is Alam Koder. In the third row, you've got the RS1 Porsche Alex Sedgwick, Blake McDonald next to him, then the Turner BMW with Justin Rothberg and Jason Daskalos next to him, Gray Newell, George Kurtz in the next row, followed by Todd Coleman and Ross Schwest. Elias Sabo had a great run in GT America this morning. He'll have Jason Bell next to him. Scott Dollahite was set to start next to JF LeBurge, but he won't take the start as we chronicled. Kyle Washington, Jay Schreibman, who had the issue on the grid, and then at the back of the pack, because of technical problems in qualifying, Bill Oberlin will start out back. It does sound like Schreibman was able to get fire in that Ferrari 296 motor, and they were able to rejoin the pack. We've got some onboard looks for you in this race here today, and this is on board with the pole sitter, the fastest car of the weekend so far, Kenton Cook, super strong in qualifying earlier today.
Yeah, he really was. I think they came in the pit line. We believe they may have done a tire pressure adjustment, which is allowed, and went back out there and laid down some flies there at the end of the session. Philip Ellis also had an abbreviated session. Looked like he was going to be sitting on the overall pole, but Kenton nipped him right at the very end of that session. So Ellis lines up in the front row in that regulator racing, but on the pole in Pro-Am.
One formation lap scheduled, however, with cool conditions here in Northern California. Race control has elected to add a second one. However, due to the constricted timetable, that we have here this weekend. That means the clock will start at the completion of this, the first formation lap. It's a 90-second race distance, or time, I should say. That is unchanged from previous years. You talked about the change for the teams in not having those tire warmers, and this is one place where that affects them, because in previous years, one formation lap, even in cool conditions, that would be no problem. But because it is so cool and because there are no tire warmers, we do need to add the second formation lap. In just a few minutes, though, Kostas Georgakopoulos will be waving the green flag to get the season underway. What a great view up there in the starter stand alongside our official starter, Tom Hansing. Cool spot to be when 18 GT3 cars come rumbling underneath to start a brand new season. 3 classes, Pro, Pro-Am, and Am. A single entry in Am. It's a relatively thin Pro grid with 4 entries, but the meat in the sandwich, that Pro-Am class, Calvin, that is going to be fascinating.
Yes, it is absolutely stacked, and it was Pro-Am car Phil Ellis that put lines up alongside our overall pole sitter. But you know, we've got 3 of the Pro cars up in the top 5. Bill Auckland's car at the tail end after that clutch issue that he suffered, and it was really a shame for that group. They'd led several of the practice sessions here this weekend. Joxy has really been turning in some great laps, Bill's teammates. So they got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of rain forecast for tomorrow, so that maybe that could throw that race upside down, and maybe it could turn into an advantage for them somehow. But they just got to reset here, focus forward, and see what they can pull off here. But it's a stacked field. So many great drivers in this field. We've got 6 factory pilots in this field represented from various manufacturers, so they understand how important this championship is, and they've got some of their best pilots here this weekend to try and get those first victories of the year.
The series getting stronger over the course of the year. Last year with more entries coming over the course of the season, and this year we start with 19 entries, 18 set to take the green flag in just a few moments' time. They'll be led to the green by the American Kenton Cook for Random Vandals Racing. What a step up they've made over the past few seasons, from a GT4 team to now a team with 2 Pro Class entries in GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, with some support from BMW as well. Just a massive amount of growth from them, alongside Regulator Racing. Philip Ellis, what a 2024 he had, and well, he's had a pretty good start to 2025 as well, having won at the 12 Hours of Sebring just a few weeks ago. They share the front row here in Sonoma. Row number 2, Mackay Stevens, his first ever GT3 race. He'll roll off from 3rd overall with the Brazilian stock car ace, Alam Kodair, starting next to him into the VP acceleration zone. There's the green flag from Kostas Georgakopoulos, and we are racing in 2025 with Kenton Cook leading the charge up the hill. Philip Ellis hot on his heels, and look at Mackay Stevens able to consolidate 3rd place. The fight is on for 4th, side by side. Porsche and Ferrari, both Kodair as well as Sedgwick getting their elbows out, and Sedgwick muscles his way up a spot.
Yeah, the Brit driver really aggressive there up the hill, and now the Ferrari goes on the defense with Rothberg right behind him. Then sitting there, the number 11, the bright multicolored DXDT Corvette, that's Blake McDonald there.
Won't be missing that livery. It pops out, and it's beautiful on that Corvette. DXDT Racing back for another go-round. And all their focus is on this car this year in this championship. Blake McDonald running 7th in his first start of the season, of course, and just a limited number of GT3 starts on the CV. Another team coming back, Archangel Motorsports with the McLaren, and here's Bill Auberlin already scything through this field, wasting no time, picking up 2 spots in 1 corner.
Yeah, he's cut through 5 cars already on this opening lap, so he's up on the wheel. He's going to be feisty here today, the BMW legend at 56 years old, still on top of his game.
And now he's got in his crosshairs Jason Bell. Boy, no contest there. Auberlin up the inside, as you'd expect a seasoned pro to do. Right now he's in the thick of the Pro-Am class, and most of the Pro-Am teams elect to start their less experienced drivers at the start of these races. Not all, however, as we talked about pre-race with Philip Ellis, for instance, from Regulator Racing, electing to start Philip Ellis in their car, and Alam Kodair as well from AF Corsa fits that description.
There goes Auberlin looking to the inside on the big sweep up the hill. That's inside Roche West. For position overall, but not in class. You got 3 pro cars that he's chasing. Bill Auberlen is. They all run in the top 4 of this race currently.
Still from 18th on the grid to 11th in just over a lap. Great start for awesome Bill Auberlen. Here as his next target is George Kurtz in the CrowdStrike Mercedes, right there just ahead. New paint scheme this year, but it's a sharp-looking race car. However, George is about to have his hands full.
He really is. Will Bill push it down at the inside, thinks better of it. Kurtz will see him there. Does he open up the door? Bill tucks it in tight there through the carousel. A little wiggle there from George as he puts the power down side by side. Off the corner on the big run down into turn 7.
Not done yet, and Todd Coleman in the McLaren potentially could be a thorn in the side of Auberlen, but he's able to make the pass stick. He's up to 10th on the road now, and his next target is the McLaren man, Todd Coleman.
Beautiful job there judging that move by Bill Auberlen. Just gave George Kurtz a little bit of room at the inside, ran a slightly wider line through there, and now he's on the attack, and he gets by Coleman on the run down at the turn 9 chicane.
This is fantastic, scything through the field. Bill Auberlen up inside the top 10 from 18th on the grid. This is another team that's on something of the alternate strategy. In the pro class here in North America, you are required to run at least one silver-graded driver as part of the lineup. That would be Varun Choksi. The other pro class cars are starting their silvers, not Random Vandals, not with the 51. Instead, they start Bill.
Yeah, they do. So they looked at that alternate strategy that Regulator Racing ran last year and decided that may be the way to go. I think they'll just try it this weekend, see how it pans out. Obviously, those qualifying issues don't really give you a true reflection of that strategy and how it's going to work. But up front, it's the sister Random Vandals machine of Kenton Cook who has the lead over Phil Ellis in the Mercedes.
Starting to build a bit of a gap. Philip Ellis, though, keeping him honest. And then it's 2.2 seconds back to Mackay Stevens, running a strong 3rd overall and 2nd in pro in his first ever GT3 start. On board now with the race leader in the run down to the hairpin at the end of the drag strip.
This is turn 7. You can see those big patches that have been laid into the racing surface since we last competed here. There's also been a lot of sealer laid down. So talking to the teams, they think they feel it's lost a little bit of grip since last year, but these are pretty much perfect ambient and track conditions today with a relatively mild climate that we got here at the end of March.
A couple of cars that Race Control has noted for pre-race procedures. We've got Scott Dolehite in the Dolehite Racing Ford Mustang. Also Jay Schreiben. We know they had issues on the grid in the number 163 AF Corsa Ferrari. Nothing has been handed down in terms of rulings yet, but both of those 2 cars currently under review for pre-race procedures.
Well, one of the regulations is at the 5-minute mark, you're not allowed to be working on the car other than tightening up the driver and shutting the door. So maybe they ran afoul of that. Schreiben may have been having issues before we even saw him fail to get off the grid in a timely manner. But the car's running fine. It'll be unfortunate if they have to have any sort of drive-through penalty here.
Kenton Cook in control, and the nice thing for Philip Ellis leading in the Pro-Am class, Kenton Cook's not holding him up at all. Philip Ellis is still able to push. The key to this strategy on day 1 is building as big of a gap as possible for Jeff Burton then to manage in the second half of the race.
It really is. Sedgwick's having a really nice run here for RS1. He'll share that car today. That Porsche you're looking at right there, the number 18 car with Jan Halen. He is an absolute ace. He's had so much success in SRO competition over the last handful of years, but looking at fast laps, Bill Auberlen just laid down the fastest lap of this race at a 1:35.147, almost half a second quicker than the leaders.
This came together very, very late for RS1 and Alex Sedgwick to join Jan Halen in this Porsche. Porsche Motorsport North America did some work to try and connect driver and team, and then at Race Brew, 0.0% beer from a partner brewery came on board to help them make this possible here this year. It should be a fun pairing to watch over the course of the season ahead. Now, Bill Auberlen started 18th. He's already carved his way up to 8th, and the next target in the crosshairs, well, it's been acquired. It's Blake McDonald in that Corvette.
He's right there, and there's that BMW power. Slides it to the inside. It's all about balancing these cars over the lap, but where the BMW has always been strong is in the straight line stuff. Maybe he struggles a little bit compared to maybe the Mercedes, especially in certain high-speed corners, but nonetheless, it's a potent package around this racetrack, and Bill Auberlen is putting it to use.
Up to 7th overall now, up 11 positions, but still has yet to catch the rest of the pro class. He's got about 8 seconds or thereabouts that he needs to erase to get to Sedgwick and Stevens. And for Auberlen and Choxy, they need to get there as quickly as possible for their strategy to work. Meanwhile, we've got Aston's battling side by side. Gray Newell, Heart of Racing in the blue machine. Jason Bell with the Racer's Edge team here this year. They moved on after a long partnership with Acura and HRC. Looks like Gray Newell is able to grab this spot, but here comes Bell fighting back. This is 13th and 14th on the road.
Yeah, really nice job there by Jason by chasing after Gray Newell. 20 years Flying Lizard were based here at Sonoma. They're now based at the Apex Racing Circuit in Arizona. Jason Bell competing with Michael Cooper, who's won here 8 times in SRO competition, an absolute ace around this racetrack. So we'll be looking for big things when he gets behind the wheel. Jason Bell now in his 2nd year of GT3 competition. The tough going early in the year. They got the car very late, very limited testing, but the GT America competition, but he comes back stronger this year in much better shape in terms of how much experience he has behind the wheel.
With that switch in teams too, as we look at the Flying Lizard BMW, but Jason this year with the Racer's Edge squad. So Floridian driver, Floridian team.
Good catch, early days. That was a late season move over at the Racer's Edge group,
was.
and I think it's great for Jason because that's a locally based team to him in Florida, so he's allowed to spend time at the race shop, which I think will really just keep him immersed in all of the program.
Not sure there's a more popular car at the track than this one. First glimpse in SRO America competition of the Ford Mustang GT3 V8 Coyote engine, and it roars. Very, very popular from trackside. It's got a great soundtrack to it.
It really does, and great to see the American muscle of Chevy versus Ford competing here in SRO competition. Back looking at Bill Auberlen now, he's up to P6 overall. Got one more car between him and the next pro racing car, which he's trying to chase down here. It's been an awesome opening stint.
It sure has. And his teammate Varun Choxy's been watching on him, and I'm sure he's got a smile on his face watching Bill carve through this field.
Oh, I would say the entire Random Vandals outfit is looking pretty good over here. Paul Sparta just said Bill Auberlen doing Bill Auberlen things. And Varun, how much optimism does this give you for your stint?
Yeah, it gives us a lot of optimism. We've come through the field already. We have about 7 seconds to the next car in class, so if we can fight for a podium, that would be huge considering this morning.
Do you know what the effort was to get the BMW back to operational here?
Yeah, I mean, the guys had to take a look, but we found the issue, and hopefully the car stays together now. I have faith that it will, and we should be in a good spot for today and tomorrow.
Both of Paul Sparta's BMWs sitting in the top 10, guys.
Almost all both in the top 5, Bill. His next target, Alam Kodair. It gets a little bit harder from here as he goes up now against some seasoned pros in some of the cars running inside the top 5, but Bill's pace is very, very strong.
Really is. Just laid down a new fastest lap of the day, 1:34.596. So up front, Kenton Cook is running 34.8s. Ella's very similar to Auberlen's pace. As the battle up front is certainly getting a little bit closer.
This is starting to swing back towards Philip Ellis, and this is where it gets a bit difficult for him because, again, the whole premise of their strategy on day one is to build a gap in the Pro-Am class, and they are edging ahead, but there is more raw pace perhaps at this stage in this Mercedes than there is at the BMW. So how aggressive is Philip Ellis willing to be to try and grab the track position to try and extend that margin?
Well, he's going to be smart about it. He knows he's got a very fast car in front of him, a really smart race car driver as well that he's competing against. But for their strategy to work, he has to maximize the gap that he can create in this opening stint and make Jeff Burton's task as easy as possible. And it is never going to be easy, but he needs to try and gap the rest of the pack in Pro-Am as much as he can.
The battle brewing here with Blake McDonald, 4th in Pro-Am, chased by Jason Daskalos in the black and red Mercedes. It was a late call to make the step to GT World Challenge America this year from the GT America ranks for the CRP Racing team and this Mercedes, but Nick Short and the crew were able to dust off some of their equipment that they ran in previous years in the series, and they drafted into the lineup, young Isaac Sherman, who won just about everything there was to win in GT America GT4 last year.
Quick glimpse there of Matt Bell, who was McDonald's teammate for DXDT. He's had a big win already at the Daytona 24-hour race earlier this year on a similar machine, so he certainly knows how to make one of these new Corvettes tick. But it's great to see CRP back in the big show, and what a lineup they have between them. Daskalos and Isaac Sherman won 19 races in GT America competition last year, so they know how to get the job done. They know where victory lane is.
That team racing in the memory of Sheldon Miller, the late and much missed crew chief for CRP Racing. We chronicled that story throughout the year last year, his brave battle with cancer. We lost Sheldon over the off season, and this team certainly very much racing in his memory. Right now, Jason Daskalos putting in an excellent drive. He's got Blake McDonald right there in front of him, just looking for an opportunity to pounce.
Yeah, beautiful rhythm there by Daskalos. You can just see him really at ease with the car. Just beautiful patterns that he's driving through these corners, so it looks like the car is hooked up. Made a lot of progress this weekend in terms of dialing that car in. Ryan Dial has been here on site, longtime coach to Jason Daskalos, to try and pave the way for this new driver pairing to succeed here early in 2025.
McDonald, relatively new to the series. He did run the Indy 8-hour last year with this team. It was a lineup that was more or less a one-off for that event, with Brian Sellers as the full season driver, joined by Bryson Morris, by Blake McDonald and Patrick Liddy for the 8-hour season finale last year. And team and driver alike, everyone seemed to gel, so they brought it back to kick off this season. A couple of penalties handed down, 10-second time penalties to be served at the pit stop for those pre-race procedures. So the Dollarhide Ford Mustang and the number 163 Ferrari for A, of course, at the M-Class entry, both will have extended stays in the pit lane due to those procedural violations.
Great battle here right now for P9 in Pro-Am. Gray Nil behind the wheel, making the move. Been a stalwart GT4 competition for a few years now. He does have GT3 experience in the 24-hour series. And I was really impressed. I stood in their pit box the other day at the end of one of the practice sessions when he jumped out of the race car, and his feedback to the team and his teammate Darren Turner, I felt was absolutely spot on. He's a very smart and astute young man, and he was able to deliver that information. So he's certainly understanding what makes one of these GT3 cars tick very early in his career.
Picked up a win just last weekend in Europe and Italy in that 24-hour series, winning the AM-Class in treacherous conditions. It was raining off and on throughout the course of that two-day event. But he, Hannah Grisham, who we'll see later today in Pirelli GT4 America, and Ian James, the team boss, team to get the class victory. Now this is interesting.
Yeah, I'm hoping the team are aware they could serve their penalty during the mandatory pit stop and don't feel they've got to serve it immediately. Maybe there's some other issue going on with this Mustang on debut here in this championship.
But you do wonder, for a team that only made a couple of starts last year, it's part of the learning process, if maybe they're getting used to some of the regulations, or perhaps there is something that is amiss beyond that. But disappointing to see that Ford Mustang in the pits. It's got Dollarhide, Anthony Lazzaro, really fun driver pairing. Maybe there's still a bit of a question mark about who the full season co-driver will be for Scott, but Anthony's a veteran, and good to have him in the paddock. Brings a lot of experience, including some race winning success at this track about a decade or so ago to the operation.
Things settling in here. I think all of the drivers did a really nice job. The fact there aren't any tire warmers to get their tires up to temp, and relatively mild conditions, so no issues on those first few laps there as we went back to green. I think the extra formation lap really helped that, but now the race is certainly settling down. Kenton Cook keeping Philip Ellis at bay there, as you see on our screens right now. About 0.7 of a second is the gap. Mikel Grenier alluded to the fact that BMW does have good power, so making a move of it is not going to be easy, but long as Kenton Cook maintains this rapid pace, I don't think Philip Ellis will be too concerned about the gap that he's creating in the Pro-Am class at the same time.
These two, as you mentioned there, Cal, not in the same class. Pro in the case of Cook and Pro-Am in the case of Ellis. Oh, we've got a problem for Elias Sabo, who is having a really good day at a runner-up finish in GT America earlier today. That car is off track, just as the leaders were encountering some lap traffic. We got to look at what happened to Elias Sabo here. Ooh.
Wow, that was really early in the approach to turn 1 there. Wonder if there's some kind of technical issue, because normally you can just cruise through the first part of that car, the amount of downforce that these cars have.
Change for the lead as Philip Ellis has gone through on Kenton Cook. Again, not in the same class, but this is perfect for regulator racing. As long as we stay green, this is great news for them, because this allows Philip Ellis to just continue to sprint away from the rest of the Pro-Am field.
Yeah, and I think for Kenton Cook, he's smart enough. Do you know what I mean? If he feels that Ellis is pushing him where he's not able to manage his tires correctly and get through this opening stint that's between 40 and 50 minutes, that's 50 minutes is the maximum drive time for either driver. So that opens up the pit window between 40 and 50 approximately. We'll get into the nitty gritty of that when we get closer to that pit window opening. But nonetheless, I mean, he's not racing for Philip Ellis in class. He recognizes that he's got a really rapid teammate in Connor DeFilippi, so they should be in great shape for the overall victory, even by letting Ellis go by at this stage of the game.
That is one of the fascinating elements of this. It's multi-class racing in a sense, but everyone has the same machinery. It just comes down to the driver composition. This is how the move was made. Ellis to the inside, and this was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think that was almost Kenton letting him go, because that BMW typically isn't passed or drawn up alongside there. The preceding corner is a flat-out sweeper, so I think that's Kenton making that decision to just let Philip Ellis go and find some clean air himself and just manage his tires here, looking at the bigger picture.
Looks like Daskalos has been able to get the move made on Blake McDonald, so put Jason Daskalos up another spot. He's into 4th now, just one step off the podium, chasing down his old sparring mate from GT America of a year ago, Justin Rothberg. That'll be his next target.
About 17 minutes away from when the earliest cars could hit pit lane, and minimum stop time from pit in to pit out, including driver change and service, is 85 seconds here this weekend. So that works into the calculation of how soon you can come in and not be outside of that box. Here's turn 7 move here. Could be the crossover for Daskalos. Nicely done. And now he's skipped away a little bit as he's got clean air on the front end of that Mercedes.
Jason set that up nicely. Lots of experience that he brings to the table. He's been racing at a high level since 2007, and he's accumulated 10 wins over the past 2 seasons in GT America. I believe we had some questions about what happened to the Dollarhide Racing Mustang, and Amanda might have tracked down those answers.
Yeah, Ryan, just quickly, the team did call Scott in to serve that 10-second penalty. I was asking if that would apply, because race control, the specific direction says to serve that 10-second penalty during the mandatory pit stop. The team did just find out that they will have to do an additional 10 seconds when Scott comes in for that official pit stop and driver change with Anthony Lazzaro. But as you said, Ryan, there's a lot of energy around this team. Scott Dollarhide is committed to growing out the Ford Mustang GT3 platform here for Ford Performance and in the SRO paddock. And Anthony Lazzaro, as you guys have been saying, 61 years old, turned 62 this year, and said he finally has a heartbeat back being inside of this Ford.
Yeah, and that's just really a statement about a team learning the nuance of a new championship. Yes, they did that one race last year with Scott Dollarhide in GT America, but just they saw that penalty, and typically you want to get the penalty knocked out of the way, try and stay on that lead lap. Then if there's a full course yellow, everyone stacks up and you don't lose so much, but it was specific. It had to be done during the mandatory pit stop, so that's really a blow to that young team.
This is the M-Class entry from AF Corsa. Jay Schreibman had the issue on the grid, I should say, but they were able to work through that. They do have that penalty still to serve. But Jay and Oz Negri, I think Jay would admit this might not be his favorite circuit. But that said, they know they're going to get through this weekend and be that much better prepared for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he was super honest about it when we saw him yesterday at the drivers' meeting. He just kept shaking his head. He said, this racetrack is something else. I just can't get my head around it. And he's got one of the very best coaches and mentors you could have in his teammate in Oz Negri with so much experience. And if collectively they can't get Jay dialed in, that just really showcases how tricky this racetrack is to get your arms around.
Watching and listening here from on board with Bill Auberlin, who has gone from 18th on the grid up to 6th, and he's starting to reel in Alam Kodair. That's the second-placed Pro-Am car, the other Ferrari, the blue one from AF Corsa in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, just phenomenal stint by Bill. He's got the fastest lap in class now, but the overall fastest lap now belongs to our overall leader, Philip Ellis, at 134.219. Auberlin's best at 134.416, which is a couple of tenths up on his teammate, Kenton Cook. So just displays what case of what may have been, but they're in the game. It's a really impressive performance. And Varun Choksi, as we said, his teammate, has really been blindingly quick since he stepped on inside this random Vandals entry.
This is looking like a good scrap here. At the front of this trio, Ross Schwest Povolato Racing back once again, but this year they're with the Chevy Corvette platform. And Ross, although he didn't get a great finish because of some issues early in the race in GT America this morning, did have good pace in their other chassis, and that's carried over nicely to this race. And he's got a couple of Astons not so patiently waiting behind him with Gray Newell and Jason Bell.
Jason Bell in the Racer's Edge, corrected myself from earlier. Aston Martin racing machine, so it just looked like he was caught unawares, that he was willing to roll a bit more apex speed than Gray was up there through turn 2, so we almost ran over the top, having good evasive action there by Jason, so he's feeling it here today. It's really impressive performance by both of these drivers.
I will say Jason didn't do us any favors when he kept the same livery but switched teams
I just
over the
defaulted
offseason.
Immediately.
Yep, and he spent many, many years with Flying Lizard, but saw an opportunity to try something a little bit different, bringing Michael Cooper with him, and awesome to have Michael back at the top level where he has been winning races for many years, dating back to that Cadillac program where he was teamed with Johnny O'Connell for a couple of seasons as a Cadillac factory driver.
Yeah, I think it's a great match. I think he really understands what makes Jason Bell tick, and that's the importance. That chemistry is really, really crucial to have success. We talk about his 8 wins for Michael Cooper here, 2 in GT3 back in 2017, and then 5 in GT4 competition, including 3 times he won here in 2020 with Black Dog Speed Shop entry.
Should mention that Elias Sabo was able to continue, but is currently being investigated for taking the shortcut from turn 1 to turn 6. That was something that was addressed at the driver's briefing, that you could have a lap annulled or perhaps more, depending on how much of an advantage it was deemed you gained by taking one of the several infield shortcuts that are generally there if you have a stricken car to try and get it to a safe place.
Love to debrief with Elias and understand you know, he just seemed to lose the control of the car very early in the corner before it's really fully loaded. Very rarely do you see a car, you know, have a moment that early in the approach to turn 1.
Gray Newell looking very aggressive here. Meanwhile, Auberlin has caught Kodair. Of course, a Ferrari, Random Vandals BMW. This is for 5th overall, and this is the last car that stands between Bill and the rest of the Pro Class cars.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch him get up on the wheel there, just dust themselves off after this morning's disappointment with that technical issue with the clutch. Oh, that's a late move. DeLam was certainly up for that. He wasn't going to give that one up that easily, so it was coming from a long way back. And the problem is when you really kind of lunge on the brakes like that over the crest of the hill into the carousel, it's right where the car is getting super light, so you've got to be really delicate with your braking application if you go in deep like that. You can tell the builder wants to force this car as far forward as he can. He changed tires during the pit stop, so it's not like he's got to save any of this Pirelli P0. He's certainly been using it up with this really impressive list of fast laps here today.
These are two very experienced drivers. You mentioned Bill in his mid to late 50s. Alam from Sao Paulo, Brazil. He's 43 years old, and despite the fact they've been racing at a high level in similar types of cars for a long time, I don't know that they've ever raced against one another before.
No, and that's what's great about any new season, all of the different teams and the makeup of the teams. How do they lay out? How does it play out? Who's going to have the edge by switching to a different team or a different manufacturer? Exciting new driver lineup, some drivers who we don't really know very well, Ryan. It's always fun to see them develop over the course of a season.
Kodair finished third in the Stock Car Brazil Championship back in 2010. Anyone who knows about that series knows it's extremely competitive. You have frequently former Formula One drivers, former IndyCar drivers from Brazil that return to their native country when their single-seater careers come to an end to ply their trade up against some really good domestic talent. So to win races in Stock Car Brazil and to challenge for championships, whether that's today in 2025 or 15 years ago, that says that you've got some talent.
It really does, and it also showcases to me here that Alam is pretty feisty. He doesn't want to give up this position, even though it's not for class position. He's running second right now in class to our overall leader, Phil Ellis, aboard the 91 Regulator Racing Mercedes. And the team will certainly keep him aware of that car behind you is not for class position, so think about it. How hard and how aggressive do you want to be in your defense?
Co-drivers in these two cars, Marcelo Hahn will take over the controls of the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Varun Choksi, who we heard from earlier, set to take the reins from Bill Oberlin. And we are approaching the first pit stops, I suspect. We're getting really close to that window.
7 minutes away, I think, Ryan.
Yep. So the teams that have started their AMs are likely to make the call as soon as they are allowed to by regulation.
Absolutely. You'll see a lot of the Pro-Am entries pitting, other than Phil Ellis, who leads this race. He'll try and stay out there and maximize his 50-minute maximum stint time. Alam, he may elect to stay out there as well. He should be the slightly faster driver of that driver lineup for AF Corsa in the blue Ferrari number 16. For Oberlin, you know, I think Varun's been certainly impressive, but if Oberlin's in the rhythm and he hasn't used up too much of his tire, they may elect to keep him out a little bit deeper into this race as well. The other thing that's a big change is because you don't have tire warmers, what we call the overcut, when you stay out on hot rubber, even though it's worn and maybe not at its peak performance, may still be a lot quicker than outlaps on fresh Pirelli P0. So that's going to be a factor as well that has to play out just to give you that track position. You're then going to fight that cold tire syndrome when you get your second driver in, but you may, gain some track position by doing so.
That choice to remove the tire warmers from the regulations, it flips all the strategy that we've talked about for the previous handful of years on its head.
Robbie Foley getting suited and booted. Rothberg's done a really nice job, sits there in P7 overall, third in the Pro-Am class, our defending class champions. Matt Bell's getting ready to go.
Pit lane will be a busy place in just about 5 minutes' time. Gray Newell, plenty of GT4 experience under his belt. This is his first time racing the GT3 Aston.
Well, three of these guys know each other well, though, from Pirelli GT4 competition. For last couple of years, they've traded paint before.
It's a really good point. Also in GT America GT4, they have gone head-to-head a few times. Newell's been a championship contender. Schwest has won a title. Jason Bell has won a title. And now all of them graduating to the big show, which is exactly the way that the SRO pyramid is set up to work. That's what Craig Gill and company are hoping to see.
Absolutely. It's a great feeder system that they have within the paddock, beginning with our new TC America Championship, which I think has got a lot of future with the new classification there. Single class now for this year. Very exciting times.
Starts there and just grows and grows. This as the top step of the ladder.
Oberlin, that's tight. That's tight. I think Bill got a little bit lucky there. They were trying to figure out where Saber was going to go. The Ferrari just kind of sat there patiently waiting, and I think if Oberlin had turned that Ferrari, that could have been a penalty. Fortunately, he kept it straight, so I think he'll escape the wrath there of the stewards.
Should also mention that Sabo's shortcut was reviewed, no action taken by race control, but he is there something of a cork in this bottle here, despite being a lap off the pace.
Oberlin has suddenly got to a man who's frustrating him a little bit, out of class with this Ferrari, but he does not want to give it up. And I think if Oberlin had been able to clear the AF course of Ferrari, of Kudair, he may have been able to chase after Sedgwick, who's not that far down the road.
No, he's not. Kodair himself having trouble getting around the lap car of Sabo. Now he does carve to the inside. Oberlin, though, kept his momentum up nicely. He's starting to reel in the blue Ferrari, but is there a place he can pounce? He's shown the nose here a few times, but Kodair brings a lot of speed in at turn in and is able to sweep across the bow and hang on to the position.
Yeah, the other thing you're getting into is a little bit of what we call that dirty air, the wash, the aero effect of the car in front of you, taking the air off the dive planes and that front splitter, and minimizing the downforce that you have through some of these really challenging, particularly that downhill carousel where you need as much downforce as you can. I believe that's Varun Choksi watching on.
Waiting for the call. They feel like they're getting held up. Is there any chance they consider making the change? Getting him out of this traffic. Ideally, with Bill's experience, you'd think they'd like to run him as long as possible. However, he does look increasingly frustrated here behind this Ferrari of Kodair.
Yeah, well, that's nice with the pace that Varun's now developed, that they have that option. And I think early last year they would certainly not have elected to take that strategy, but now I think with Varun's pace, very, very close to Bill. So this is exciting times for this new group working together under the Random Vandals entrant.
Just a couple of minutes away from the de facto pit window opening up. Cal, you've done the math, so I don't have to. When can the cars dive for the pit lane?
Yeah, I think there needs to be 51:25 on the clock in terms of time left in this race. And how that works out is if you came in at that point and then you serve the minimum 85-second minimum, when the next driver leaves pit lane, he wouldn't be over the 50-minute mark for maximum drive time. So that's as early as you can come.
Philip Ellis has caught some traffic here. We've run green from the start of this race, and so now the leaders are catching the back of the Pro-Am pack, and Kyle Washington's not making this easy on Philip Ellis, and there's a reason for that. If he can hang Philip up behind him, remember, these are cars in the same class, and Tom Sargent, the pro in the Porsche, will be getting in the second stint. So if he can slow the advance of the Mercedes, that helps his co-driver then in the second stint, as Ellis does muscle his way through.
Yeah, and I think Kyle was trying to be as aggressive as he could without getting too silly and getting dirty. They did not want to give it up, and you know that the team's on top of that in terms of that. Really kind of gets a little bit complicated by going that lap down, and with the pit stop, we expect Ellis to stay out there as long as you can, and then suddenly if you bring Kyle Washington's car in, you're getting close to going 2 laps down, and that gets really quirky even if there's a full course yellow during that pit stop window.
Up next, Kenton Cook will have to try and make that pass. I suspect Kyle will make this a lot easier for Kenton, and he does. Those two in different classes, and also now Washington already down a lap to the overall leader, so no sense putting up too much of a fight with those two factors in mind.
Carl, one of the drivers, there's multiple drivers in this field competing in GT America and in this race here. And that's a huge bonus to have that extra seat time and know the racetrack and how it evolves. And he had a really good run here earlier today, top 5 I think at the end of the day, but most importantly second fastest race lap. He'll start tomorrow's GT America race from the front row.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Good pace in that car. 2 different chassis across the 2 series, but both Porsche 911 GT3Rs.
Ellis still has that fast lap at 134.219. Looking at his gap back to the next Pro-Am car, it's about 15.8 seconds back to the AF Corsa number 16.
Pro-Am cars can make the call to the pit lane. Well, really, anybody could if they wanted to, and several have. Jason Bell is in, Kyle Washington is in. What happens here? Neither of these two teams are ready to blink just yet. Both of these also on that alternate strategy, same as Philip Ellis, with their more experienced driver in the car. So not a surprise to see them run long necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise. Like, I think to your point, you know, what is Oberlinger's pace going to be like on well-worn tires compared to Varun Choksi? But I think it's that overlap. There's, you know, they really want to just try and gain as much track position. Then even if Varun gets out there on relatively cold tires, he's just got to fight off maybe some pro cars that come up behind him. They're ready to go whenever Oberlin makes that call. Rothberger's in, Robbie Foley ready to go. Tom Sargent going to jump aboard this e-boost machine.
GMG Racing, or Sargent and Washington picked up that big win last year at VIR. That was massive for Kyle Washington, first GT3 win for him.
Again, to your point, Ryan, a lot of the Pro-Am entries, if they went with the regular strategy, going to get their AM drivers in, give the pros the maximum amount of seat time.
Good execution from GMG, at least it looks that way. We'll see if the stopwatch agrees. Yep, they are about a second and change over the minimum, so yeah, that's good news.
86.3, was it 86.7? Yeah, so a nice clean stop. I think everyone, first stop of the year, you don't want to cut it too close. You are allowed a 2-second kind of joker if you're up to 2 seconds underneath the minimum stop time of 85 seconds. As Oberlin hits pit lane, you don't have to serve a drive-through, but that's a multiplier of 10. So if you're a second underneath, it's going to cost you 10 seconds post-race. Massive penalty. You got to get it right.
But it beats being over 2 seconds under the minimum, because that's a drive-through penalty, and that would cripple just about any race, especially at the 90-minute time allotment that we have for these races in GT World Challenge America. I wonder if this call was just about getting Bill out of the traffic and then putting the trust in Choksi to have the pace to make it work.
I think you're right. I think if Bill had clean air, they may have elected to keep Matt a little bit longer, but both cars are in. Kenton Cook will turn this car over to Connor DeFilippi from the lead-in pro. Second overall when they hit pit lane. Right behind them, Oberlin, one of the fastest with the pit stop. Driver exchange. He thinks of every angle in terms of performance, the overall performance of the effort.
And that 85-second minimum, you have to execute to be able to hit that right. This is the driver change-in process. Those belts strapped in, still waiting on fuel, still waiting on Pirelli P0s. Stop from Kenton Cook. Changing over to Connor DeFilippi. It's a little on the slow side. That was...
Wow, 4.5 seconds outside.
Yeah.
That was not ideal for the Random Vandals effort, the number 99, with DeFilippi now behind the wheel. So Alarmco Dair has stayed out there aboard the AF Corsa entry. They're just really trying to maximize his time. He can stay out there for another 7.5 minutes. Basically, he's got to be in before the 40-minute mark left in this race.
That's what they'll try to do. That's what this car and Regulator Racing, that's what they'll try to do. Maximizing Philip Ellis' speed and give Jeff Burton a margin then to manage to the finish. Kai Stevens, how about that? JMF keeping him out as well when they've got the Mercedes factory driver, Mikhail Grenier, waiting on the bench. Stevens has been solid here in his first weekend of GT3 competition. How about Heart of Racing? Gray Newell is out of the car. No, a problem on the right rear. The gun not generating enough force. Oh.
That's not good. It's like they don't have enough air pressure to it. They need to switch bottles over there, switch guns. I'm not sure if they have a backup ready to go.
Or do they just leave the old tire on?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Yep.
That is not great news for Darren Turner on race debut here at Sonoma. If that is the case, we'll try and get clarification on that. Darren Turner, fortunately, was here a few weeks ago with the Valkyrie program where he gave rides around here, and we're running the fast lap here today as a 134. That Valkyrie supercar, he said they are running sub 130s with passengers beside them, just a monster of a machine that he's been very integral with the development of.
To be clear, that's the track day hypercar, not the Le Mans hypercar prototype that we've seen racing in the World Endurance Championship at IMSA this season, but it's basically the same spine, and that is some amazing performance. What a thrill to be a passenger.
It's amazing what 1,000 horsepower will do.
Yeah.
So looking at the clock, we've got about 5.5 minutes. Basically, with 40 minutes left in this race, everyone needs to have hit pit lane. Not done the full service, but break the timing line into pit lane. So we've got 5 minutes and 20 seconds left for these cars that have stayed out late to serve that first stop.
I think we're going to have a penalty for Chauncey. That pit stop was
4
slightly
tenths
under.
Yeah, so it's going to be about a 4-second penalty for them post-race. Not ideal. So the sister car had a slow one, and they were a little bit too quick.
You can't just average it out?
That'd be nice, right?
That Paul Sparta-led team, remember how close they were to a victory at Barber last year?
Had the pole and led handily.
With Kevin Cook and Connor Daly at the time. And Connor will be back with the team for the Indy 8-hour once again. I think that's the first 8-hour lineup to be announced in its entirety. So thanks to the Vandals for doing that for us. But yeah, something just a little bit off with their fuel flow monitor in terms of getting the tank filled up on the final stint, and that cost them a victory there. But maybe today could be the day where they get a breakthrough win, whether it's in class or overall. Certainly both are in the cards with the Connor DeFilippi Kenton Cook car. Meantime, Alex Sedgwick trying to chase down Mackay Stevens as these two, as well as Ellis and Kodair, continue to extend this first stint. And Jason Daskalos is as well.
Yeah, really impressive run here by Sedgwick. He actually competed against Formula One drivers Lando Norris and Zhou Guanyu in the karting days, and he's done a little bit of Euro NASCAR, even did an ARCA test at Daytona back in 2021, then ran out of funds. Fortunately got hooked up with PD Autosport, who gave him a great run in Porsche Sprint Challenge at Indy in 2022, and from that led to a couple of really impressive runs in Carrera Cup, finishing 4th for a couple of years, one with JDX. And then the opportunities ran out again, and then he got this great opportunity with the support of Momentum Brewing Company, and I think he's got a great group here. I mean, they always put out a fast race car, and he's got a great teammate in Jan Halen. They could make a statement this year.
Alex just loves his racing. He's from Warwickshire in the UK, and as you said, kind of went the European NASCAR route for a little while. Actually, you mentioned the test he did at Daytona, but he did run an ARCA West race on the oval at Phoenix. And I asked him once, why didn't you just jump in on a road course or something? Why'd you go for the oval? He said, well, if I'm going to do NASCAR, I want the full experience. Great personality, really strong driver. Can't wait to see what he can do with the spotlight on him here this year in GT World Challenge America. Meanwhile, overall leader is in, and Stevens and Sedgwick follow him in, and I expect Kodair will not be too far behind. And of course, though, we'll keep him out for one more lap.
Yeah, there's another lap. Potentially they could have stretched it, but if anything goes amiss on that, you could certainly run afoul of the rules, so they play it a little bit safe here. Great stint by Philip Ellis, just as you'd expect. And look at this. I think there's a strategy here. Are they going to double stint here, Pirelli P0s? Understanding the warm-up phase is so difficult here this weekend. I think they're just bleeding out pressure here and going to double stint these tires for Jeff Burton. Early days with the strategy with no tire warmers. Could this be the ace up their sleeve?
We think this team pulled a strategy blinder this morning in qualifying 2, sending Jeff Burton out, we believe, on the set of tires that Philip Ellis used in qualifying 1, which meant they were already warmed up. Again, no tire warmers this year, so having that, he was immediately on the pace. It was a truncated session, so a lot of cars never got to get their tires up to temperature. He's going to start second tomorrow. That was qualifying up against the pros.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, it was a weird session, obviously, with the incident that we had with Marcelli. So now Jeff Burton leaves pit lane, but he's got that tire temperature already there, so allow him to get in a rhythm really, really quickly and not have these outlaps that cost you so much time.
Big vote of confidence in Pirelli's product, too.
Yeah, and I mean, but getting back to the loss, I mean, it was taking like 4 or 5 laps for even the pros to get those Pirellis up to temperature in these ambients that we're seeing here this weekend, and the initial laps are going to be some 10 seconds lower. Here's the third and fourth right there. That is Connor DeFilippi making the move on the 18 car that now has Jan Halen behind the wheel, but on cold tires, and that's the difference.
Yeah, it's exactly.
You're just a sitting duck. There's nothing you can do.
Exactly what you were saying. It takes a couple of laps to build that temperature. So there was, to your point, nothing on Halen could do, no fight he could put up. DeFilippi is through and picks up that position. That's good enough for second in class. And he'll have another car on cold tires to catch next. Mikael Grenier for JMF. Change of driver in this car. Jason Daskalos with a really strong opening stint. It's now Isaac Sherman who's climbed aboard. We have the overall leader in the pits right now with Alam Kodair, but while we watch Isaac Sherman in the car, I think Amanda's caught up with Jason Daskalos. Or at least
yeah,
as
guys,
an update.
I was just on hand for the first over competition pit stop for this team. I did get the thumbs up from the SRO official that all went well here. It was a nice swap between the drivers who were able to practice this for the first time here in Sonoma. As you said, Isaac Sherman is in that car right now. Jason Daskalos with this big smile on his face came in the third position. They are efforting for a podium in their brand new race together.
Great performance from that team to get this race.
It's going to be a battle
started.
here. I think Joxy's coming up on these guys. Admittedly, he's got that 4-second-ish penalty that he's going to have to serve post-race, but the Ferrari's trying to get up to speed. And right behind, this is for a position in the pro class right now. We're looking at it here.
Joxy has run down. Whoa! The Ferrari, that is Marcelo Hahn on the cold tires. He got really sideways and Joxy was able to get through. Now, nothing separates him from Jan Halen and the front runners in the pro class. So that was a big move for Varun to get made there. And it also shows why pitting right in the middle of that window maybe was to their benefit.
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence in this race car, so now he's got to go, go, go. He's got to gap that Ferrari by at least 4 seconds.
Okay, change of the overall lead. Grenier through on Burton. DeFilippi will try and follow him through, but Grenier still trying to bring his tires up to pressure. DeFilippi can't waste time behind Jeff Burton here. This could be the fight for the win of this race, and Burton, to his credit, he's still relatively on the pace with those already warmed up P0s.
Filippi's going to send it here, I think, into turn 11 hairpin. Watch him go.
He talked about it in your track preview, didn't he? That this is a great passing opportunity, but Jeff Burton doesn't make it easy for him.
He doesn't, and that's where that tire temperature is certainly helping out Jeff Burton. Yes, ultimate peak performance. They're double stinting tires. It's never going to be as quick at the end of this race as a driver that's on one stint tires, but look how tight it is up the hill. DeFilippi knows it's go time. If he allows Grenier to get into his rhythm, as tough as it is to pass around this racetrack, the race victory could be over. Critical moment in this race. Big decision here for DeFilippi. How hard does he push Burton?
And how hard does Burton want to fight? This is not for a class position for him either. Little twitch there, that leaves the door open.
Nice. That was nice by DeFilippi, nicely controlled. But hats off to Jeff Burton. He was feisty there. That was cool.
Fantastic. And again, tip of the cap to Regulator Racing. They think of everything. Really clever to roll Jeff out, especially on this surface that, since the repave, is pretty low on tire degradation. It's something you might be able to get away with today, but 2 years ago, you never would have done that at Sonoma.
There's Jan Halen. There's Joxy right there. So that is a battle that we're looking at, separated by the Schwest Parvaledo Corvette. That red and white Porsche, that sits in P3 and Pro. Joxy right there in the green and white Random Vandals machine. Sits in fourth right now, but he's got a fast race car underneath him.
However, he has an experienced and fast Pro in Aaron Povaledo, albeit a lap down in that Corvette right in between himself and his quarry. Aaron's quick. We've seen that this weekend. Still adapting to the new Corvette platform. This is going to be a real test here for Varun, who's still relatively inexperienced at the GT3 level.
The team have been so impressed. Spoke to Paul Sparta. He'd seen him operate at a two-day test here a week or so ago, and he said Varun is the real deal. He's really doing a great job. He's kind of sort of like got into this group. He's a quiet, just unassuming young man, but he does his talking on the racetrack. Certainly a bright future ahead of him.
Finished fourth in GT World Challenge America last year in the pro class. Same lineup, Oberlin and Joxy, but it was with the ST Racing team that has moved on to pastures new. Sliding over to Random Vandals, and despite that issue that they had in qualifying, which relegated them to the back of the grid. They find themselves here running top 5 overall.
Yeah, and he's got Povolato behind the wheel now, so that, you know, Povolato can get the job done. He is a really fast driver. We sometimes don't give him enough credit for his performance, but he is top notch. And with this new machine, you know, he wants to make a statement this year. So we've got some cars that are a lap down to our overall leader as well, so that's going to factor into the equation a little bit.
Yeah, more traffic up the road. Anthony Lazzaro and the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang looms just up ahead. It looks like you can already see on Halen flashing those headlights. Povolato flashing them too, why not? As they catch some of this lap traffic. And this is part of the reason, I was going to say it's part of the reason Povolato's fighting so hard, but actually Lazzaro's down a lap further. This is what we forecasted, that short pit stop time, 3.4 seconds in the final analysis for this car number 51 that we're watching right here with Choxy now behind the wheel.
It's going to be a tough battle for him because he's got to clear Povolato and then get around Halen and then get behind Halen, who's one of the aces behind the wheel of a Porsche, by 3.5 seconds. But there's potential to do it, but this traffic is certainly not aiding his cause.
Good fights all over the place. We got a glimpse a second ago of Thomas Sargent pressuring Darren
He sends
Turner.
it. Povolato may have got the message here that you're a lap down. Don't run this race for this team right now. So hats off to Aaron Povolato, recognizing the situation that they're a lap down. Let Choxy do his thing. Try and get around Anthony Lazzaro here and then chase after that Porsche one more time.
Next up is the lap car of Lazzaro. It's cost a lot of time, though, hasn't it, to Choxy? Halen has been able to get through this traffic a little bit better. The third place overall and Pro-Am leading Burton Lumber Mercedes, with Jeff Burton now driving, has a couple of cars in class behind him, but both of those cars that are queuing up are a lap down. So this is trying to get back onto the lead lap. A very interested spectator, though, who had a fantastic opening stint. Philip Ellis is standing by with Amanda.
Ryan, I wish you could have seen the faces of this crew when I got down here. They had the biggest smirk on their face, like they just stole candy from a baby, double stinting the tires. Who came up with that, Philip?
Definitely not me. One of the brains at the desk. No, it was a good team effort. You know, now with the rules, no tire heaters anymore. So you have to come up with new ideas how to go around it, and that was our idea. I'm sure some teams will copy it from now on, but still a long way to go, half an hour to go, where we just keep our fingers crossed that everything works out.
When did you hear about the strategy?
Like early in the week. To be honest, we knew about the rule change pretty early on, and it's not only the race, you have to go around it in qualifying as well. So now we just have to figure out what works best for the team.
Beautiful display.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, really fascinating, but watch this fight now. This is so interesting. We've got the leader in class with a couple of cars trying to get back on their class leader's lap. Plus, then you have the Halen-Choxy battle coming into the mix, too.
This could be good for Choxy, because Halen could get stuffed up here a little bit, and that will allow Choxy and the BMW maybe get on the tail of that Porsche right in front of him. So you know Jan Halen is seeing that green and white machine is ever closer to him. Look at the gap. It was about 3 seconds, and now it's basically nothing.
Oh, that was really close there. Jeff Burton cut across the nose just a bit of Darren Turner. Remember, that's the car they had an issue in their pit stop, so they're effectively double stinting just the right rear. Looked like Turner might have got the move made on on Burton, but Burton was not ready to give him the lead lap in class back. Really good pace from Burton, though, here this weekend. He's taken another step, it would seem. Meanwhile, here comes Choxy looking to the inside of Halen. Headlights blaring in the mirror of the Belgian driver, and Halen somehow, some way kept the BMW behind.
Yeah, he may have a lesson evolving right in front of him. And how do you defend for a long time in one of these races from Jan Halen? He's got so much experience, so much savvy.
In the meantime, Tom Sargent in the black and then multicolored e-boost Porsche right there on the tail of Darren Turner. This is for position. This is 9th and 10th in Pro-Am.
Yeah, what a dynamic. You got multi-class racing, cars that are a lap down. And Choxy's just licking his lips at the opportunity here. Now Aaron Povolato's sitting there. It's like, I'll let you go. You got to go, go, go. Otherwise, I'm going to start nibbling at your heels as well. Turner down to the inside of Burton. Burton's out in the grey. He's got to be careful here. Sargent's going to try and go with him. You know that Jan Halen's going to try and follow that fellow Porsche through.
Here comes Sargent now around the outside. Choxy looking to the inside of Halen, who now jinks to the outside, pulls to the fender of Burton. This is again not for position, but the fight between the other Porsche and the BMW is. Halen's able to force his way through. Can Choxy do the same?
That was tight. That had to be so close. I saw a little wiggle there, whether it was a touch or not. I'm not sure. Choxy realized he had to go and makes that move on Burton as well. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it was really aggressive, but it's what had to be done. He already saw what happened if you got stuck behind someone for a couple of laps, and it took more traffic to get him back into this fight.
This is a great dynamic here. I mean, what a day for this 51 squad to rebound from the issues this morning, to be so competitive in this race and still fighting it out for a podium at the end of the day.
While this is happening, Michael Grenier and Connor De Filippi are just exchanging laps within fractions of a second of one another. They're within a second and a half of each other there at the very front of the field. Meantime, we've got Robbie Foley making a move. This is around Marcelo Hahn in the car that was started by Alam Kodair.
Foley's only 10 seconds back behind Burton right now. That's why Burton has really been forceful in trying to defend those that track position with cars that are out of class. Let's see how this one evolved. This is down in turn 11 here, down in the hip, and Foley on the charge. What a day it could be for Turner here. Debuting this Evo in SRO competition for the very first time. His teammate didn't get a lot of seat time in the off-season to prepare for this year, but Turner Motorsports looking for their first victory, only 10 seconds back of Jeff Burton. Turner, great battle here with young Tom Sargent. Aston Martin factory pilot behind the wheel. Jan Halen, he's saying, I hope these guys in front of me got good pace and don't hold me up any, otherwise I got this BMW all over me, and I still got 28 minutes left till the checkered flag.
Just past the 2/3 mark in the first race of the season for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Grenier leads De Filippi, leads Hagelin, leads Choxy. Pro Class cars now running 1, 2, 3, 4. This, though, won't go away. This is the back part of the top 10. Remember, points paid down to 10th.
Turner's learning this racetrack in a hurry. So tricky with the elevation change here. A lot of the sessions were damp. That certainly curtailed how much seat time they got here over this race week, but he's got so much experience. Up front, Grenier has the lead by 1.2 seconds over De Filippi. Last lap, they were so evenly matched, but De Filippi was a 10th quicker than the Mercedes.
That's what it's been, Cal, over the last 4 or 5 laps. A 10th here, a 10th there, but when you add it all together, De Filippi, without question, is closing, but can he get there? And if he is there, is it enough of a pace margin to be able to make the pass?
Yeah, and I just think with the undercut situation with this car compared to this JMF machine, this Mercedes that leads, he just needed to clear the traffic. But some people were being feisty with him. That cost him the opportunity brought on the tail of that Mercedes before Michael Grenier got his tires up to temperature there.
Another battle here. A little bit further back, it's now Matt Bell aboard this DXDT Corvette, and he's got Colin Brown right behind. 5th and 6th in the Pro-Am class, 9th and 10th overall.
CrowdStrike swept the Pro-Am category here last year. They always turn out a great car here. Colin sits on the pole for tomorrow's race. In that previous qualifying session, he was the fastest man in practice here yesterday. You know that CrowdStrike entry has pace. Choxy right on the tail of Halen. Can he figure out a solution to this puzzle by getting around one of the most experienced drivers in this field?
Halen has to be so frustrated to be stuck behind this battle, but Derek Turner, Thomas Sargent, they've got a battle of their own to settle. This is a difference in 2 or 1 point at the end of the day. Looked like Sargent was able to get a nose to the inside briefly, but Turner fended him off.
Tell you what, he's flying as Andy Lee behind the wheel of that number 8, 511 Flying Lizard BMW. He is running laps in the 34 range as well, so he has caught this battle. Choxy to the inside, makes the move. Jan Halen does the crossover, grabs the position back immediately.
Maybe a little hip check as well on corner exit, and Halen able to recover after briefly he did lose that position. Now they look in the rearview mirror, and here is Andy Lee arriving on the scene. Now he's not in the same class as these two. He's not even on the same lap as these two. But the cars he's chasing to try and get into the points are just ahead. He's got to get to the Turner-Sargent pairing. That would be a great recovery.
It really would. Just amazing after the moment that his teammate had in turn one there to get back into this top 10 fight. Here's Burton, here's Foley. This is for the Pro-Am lead. Foley has cut that 10-second gap down to nothing in a heartbeat. He is absolutely flying aboard that car. Just laid down the fastest lap of this race at a 134.182. Robbie Foley on a mission right now.
Certainly is aboard the Turner BMW. Jeff Burton laboring perhaps a bit on the used rubber. This is where you have to take your medicine. It's great on those hot tires right out of the pits, but you're on tires that have gone well over an hour at this stage up against Foley, and Foley won't be held back. Put Turner through to the lead of the race with 24.5 minutes to go within the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, I mean, Burton could really just be hanging on, alluding to that double stint strategy that they took on there. So Robbie's got the lead now. Now it's just going to be about management till the end of this race. Sargent keeps the pressure on Darren Turner. Choxy right there on the tail of Halen one more time with Andy Lee in the wings.
This is fantastic nose-to-tail stuff. GT3 racing at its very best here at Sonoma Raceway. 24 minutes to go, race one of the season. Darren Turner making his first ever racing appearance here at Sonoma Raceway. He's been loving the challenge here so far. Back racing in the U.S. full-time for the first time in the better part of 2 decades.
He's always loved his racing here in North America. He's so excited to be back. 3 wins at Le Mans. He's been a tester for the McLaren Formula One team over the years. 7 wins in the World Endurance Championship. He's an absolute monster, even though he now has turned 50 years of age.
Brings such a pedigree to his team. Of course, he's run with Heart of Racing at Daytona in particular a couple of times, but you look at the resume of a Darren Turner. Class wins at Le Mans in 07, 08, and 17. He's a 24 Hours of Daytona winner, Sebring, Petit, Nürburgring 24, you name it. Meantime, this is not on schedule for DXDT Racing. What has brought Matt Bell into the pit lane? This is from a position well inside the top 10 in class.
That's a team that went 8 wins on the bounce last year when they debuted that new Corvette with Alec Udell and Tommy Milner in the pro class. Almost stole the championship at the end of the day, just came up few points shy. And there's Robbie Foley now with a healthy lead in the Pro-Am class and running 5th overall.
And Marcelo Hahn is starting to track down Jeff Burton for 2nd here, but it's a pretty big gap back to Isaac Sherman in 4th at 13 seconds. And Colin Brown behind him, another 2.6 seconds back. So even if Hahn is able to get by Burton, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Jeff and Ellis, Jeff Burton and Philip Ellis, can still salvage a podium out of this thing.
Yeah, Burton's got to stay on the wheel, though. It was not a great last lap, at 140.1 compared to 135 for Sherman. So Sherman's, about 14 seconds back, so there's plenty of time at that sort of delta to catch him.
Here comes Marcelo Hahn taking a look to the inside. Not close enough this time. Jeff Burton able to hang on. 2nd place in the Pro-Am class in the balance here. Marcelo Hahn starting to charge in his first run with AF Corsa in this championship.
Yeah, it's been a pretty impressive performance by this car, considering that, talking to Oz Negri, who runs a similar car for AF Corsa, said the Ferrari's not ideally suited. As we see the Corvette on pit lane, some kind of issue that they're addressing, maybe electronics.
Hearing perhaps a battery change from the DXDT team. That's heartbreaking. They had a really good day brewing. Looked like possibly a top 5 run at the very least. But even with the new driver lineup, that team's still really strong. This was a moment ago. Marcelo Hahn, Jeff Burton, side by side, and yes, Hahn's able to make the pass.
Yeah, I think Burton's just really struggling for grip with those tires that are really late in their life. And I think that's going to give Isaac Sherman an opportunity here to maybe grab that final podium spot in Pro-Am before the checkered flag flies here today.
I think, though, barring a major mistake, a top 5 looks like a really good proposition for Regulator Racing. They were fixtures in the top 5 last year, frequently on the podium, couple of wins as well, and it was enough for them to get to 3rd in the championship, which far and away is the best result for Jeff Burton over the course of his career.
Yeah, I think they've just got such great chemistry. When you see them, they're always together. Jeff Burton and Philip Ellis, they're like brothers at the racetrack. I think they've got a great relationship, great chemistry. They understand the strengths of one another and go to work on the weekend. But talking about strength, Jan Halen, the 44-year-old Belgian driver, he is wringing the neck of that Porsche here, trying to hang on to that podium run for he and Alex Sedgwick here this weekend.
Alex did a great job in his opening stint to put this car in position, and there are few people I can think of that are better suited for this moment right here than Jan Halen. If it comes down to fighting for your life to defend a position for the last 20 minutes, he is the man for the job.
He really is. He is the ultimate professional. Porsche spoke to him about this opportunity with RS1. Came together relatively late, but he is literally plug and play in one of these GT4 cars or GT3 cars that we're running here, obviously, today. Just always gets the job done, eating up those curves there through the chicane, really rapid through there. And he's caught Tom Sargent. I know he'd love to get around Sargent and create a little bit of buffer between he and the chasing BMW behind. He looks to the inside. Got to be careful here. If you turn someone around, even if they're out of class, you can draw a penalty. But you see an opportunity, and maybe Darren Turner is kind of the cork in the bottle here a little bit, and if Turner doesn't maintain pace, it's going to make the conundrum for Halen even more difficult.
Oh, this is so tight, and a little contact there. Sargent
Choxy's through.
Pushed out of the way. Choxy is through on Halen. Here comes Andy Lee because he wants to get up to Darren Turner if he can to grab another position there. Really curious how race control is going to look at that one.
Choxy's got to get his head down. Remember that penalty. He's got to gain 3.5 seconds between he and Halen before the checkered flag here.
And by the way, we knew that Darren Turner, we saw the issue in the pit stop with the wheel gun. We knew they didn't change the right rear. Sounds like they only managed to change one tire.
Oh, wow.
On that pit stop. So Darren Turner, very similar to Jeff Burton, he's going to have to try and make this work. 3 tires going the entire 90 minutes. Let's look at this one more time, Cal.
Yeah, I think Jan Halen just committed, and then I think for Tom Sargent, he was trying to set up Turner in front of him, and Jan Halen just misjudged it a little bit, and Choxy, fortunately, was able to get the run on him, but he can't afford to have Turner slow him down here. So with Turner's issues, we're not having a fresh set of tires. Again, does that create a situation where Choxy can't gain that 3.5 seconds that he's probably got up his sleeve here over the chasing Porsche?
Choxy, he's been willing to get aggressive when it was needed over the course of this race. Right now, could it be a podium finish in his first run with this team? He and Bill Oberlin, they were on the podium a lot last year.
This is a podium run right here.
Sure.
Potentially for Isaac Sherman.
This is his GT3 debut. He has caught Jeff Burton. He has made the pass, but he has to fend off Colin Brown. It's 3 wide, 3 Mercedes side by side into turn 11, and Colin Brown makes it 2 for 1 to get up onto the podium.
Yeah, went from 5th to 3rd in that move. Read that beautifully between the 3 Mercedes. Colin Brown has got some pace here this weekend. Can he chase after Marcelo Hahn? Does he have enough time on the board to get up to P2 in class? I think Foley's too far gone at this stage.
Yeah, Robbie Foley comfortably out in front. Let's look at the last couple of laps. Of course, that was traffic affected, but Colin Brown was roughly on the pace of Marcelo Hahn, even with the traffic, Cal.
Yeah. Foley still has the fastest lap of the race. Let's take another look at this with the overtake, how it evolved there down into the turn 11 hairpin. So Burton struggling for grip here, coming off turn 9. Sherman gets the run, and Colin Brown just sets it up perfectly to slide it down the inside of both of them.
This is awesome. 3 Mercedes into turn 11, side by side. Colin Brown picks up 2 spots. Isaac Sherman, this is his first ever GT3 race. He's got to be looking around thinking, are they always like this?
Well, I think they may always be like that this year. We've just got a tremendous field, certainly exciting year ahead.
Sherman perhaps deprived of a chance to run in podium contention there, but still really strong showing from CRP Racing, their first time racing at this level for a long, long time. That will make Nick Short very happy. And I talked to Nick a little bit about Isaac, and he said, look, this guy's a natural. I've hardly ever encountered anyone who's been able to jump into a car and just naturally be that fast. And we saw it in GT4 last year. Apparently it transitions nicely to GT3.
It really does. It's a really cool story, and I think this is a great story that's developing before our eyes right now. JMF Racing on debut in GT3 competition, lead this motor race overall and in the pro class. Michael Grenier seems to have the pace of Connor De Filippi, still just under 15 minutes to go. Anything can happen, but he got into his groove. Mercedes got great pace. I think Connor may be a little bit quicker over the ultimate lap, but nonetheless, Grenier has that track position right now.
JMF Motorsports has never run a GT3 race before today. Could they win on debut? Well, they're 14 minutes away. Unbelievable performance from the team. Mikhail Grenier in the car now. Mackay Stevens started the race, though. Amanda did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Mackay, I hate to tell you, but the conversation back and forth in the booth right now is, could this team win on debut? And I don't want to even ask you that question in Jinx, but why is this the hardest part right now?
Because it'd be a true fairy tale, and granted, that is the beauty of motorsport. If it's meant to be, then we shall secure it and share that tremendous joy with everybody here that's helped us achieve such a goal. And if it's not meant to be, then we'll continue to strive for the next one. So we just appreciate the support and enthusiasm.
Every interview with Mackay, guys, I feel like I walk away wiser.
He's a real wordsmith. He told me the other day, I said, how's it going? He said, I just love the fluency of the language. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean exactly? He said, well, less is more. Neither one of us really talk a lot, but it's efficient in terms of the feedback that we give each other.
He was working in construction, was Mackay Stevens, in his native Chicago, when he had a coworker ask him, what do you want to do? What's your dream? And he said, I want to be a racing driver. And this coworker said, well, find out how to do it. So he did. He looked it up, was selected by Jeremy Shaw for the Team USA scholarship, which suddenly boosted his profile. Finished 3rd in the Walter Hayes Trophy, by the way, in 2014. That's part of that scholarship. You get sent to the UK to race in the Formula Ford Festival, the Walter Hayes Trophy, against some of the top up-and-coming talent around the world, and has just scrapped and clawed for this opportunity. And John Farrow, JMF Motorsports, has given it to him, and he's rewarded John with strong runs in Pirelli GT4 America over the past 3 seasons. But now, this chance to be in the big show and perhaps win his first GT3 race in his first start. What a story it would be.
Yeah, it's really pretty awesome. Great investment by John Farrow to support this Canadian-bred program. Mackay is not Canadian, of course, but so many of the drivers that come through his programs are, and running multiple programs here this weekend alone. And this could be a tremendous story. Michael Grenier, AMG Mercedes factory pilot, and he just knew that the opportunity was there. He needed that buffer just to get the tires up to temperature, but once he got his groove and he had the lead, it was just focus forward. Robbie Foley, what a day they're having, potentially coming out of the box, defending championship winners from 2024 with a victory. He's well down the road of Marcelo Hand to the tune of about 13 seconds, but Colin Brown now is only 3 seconds back for that P2 position. So lots to play for there.
from start to finish. We've had great battles on track. We've had pit strategy. We've had the driver nomination strategy element of it, comers and goers. I mean, this is going to be a fun year if teams continue to look into and exploit this rule book the way that we've seen these teams do.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. It's just a curveball, and I think it creates many options in terms of the reverse strategy with the starting drivers, and then do you double stint tires in qualifying so you get around the cold tire scenario. I think that'll be circuit dependent and condition dependent, certainly. I'd have to say that maybe this double stint strategy in the race has backfired a little bit, because I think Jeff has certainly got a lot more pace than he's able to display here on these well-worn tires, but it's all about data accumulation and then making the best decisions moving forward.
And for Jeff Burton, we saw him hold off Darren Turner for a couple of laps on old tires. Now, I guess Darren was on old tires too, we've subsequently learned, but Jeff in that situation before, with all the pressure around him and everything that was happening, it might not have ended this way, but this was a really heady drive by Jeff, and even if this might not be a win or a podium, it's looking like it very well could be a strong top 5 or 6. We do have Aaron Telitz charging here, and Michael Cooper is as well, but still, for the Regulator Racing team, really interesting to see what prospects they have for the rest of 2025.
Colin Brown, he can sniff the exhaust fumes from that Ferrari right now. He's that close. On a charge. So much experience, so much speed. Hahn has done a really nice job aboard this AF Corsa Ferrari, but I think he's got too much time left on the table to defend that position before the checkered flag today.
Hahn is a former International GT Open champion, former South American GT champion. Brings a lot of GT3 experience to the equation, but he's up against one of the top sports car drivers in North America over the last 10 years or so, Colin Brown, who has him now dialed in, target acquired, and it's that blue Ferrari just up the road. 8.5 minutes to try and get this move made. This is the fight for second and third in Pro-Am.
I talked to Colin this weekend. When were you last in a GT3 car? Remember, CrowdStrike halted their operations last year in terms of race appearances. He said it was VIR last year other than a brief test. So, but, you know, he's got so much experience, so much confidence. You stick him aboard anything, a wheelbarrow, he'll drive it quickly.
I mean, that is true over the course of his career. Colin's got such a wide and varied CV, everything from Indy cars, GTs, prototypes, stock cars, and trucks. I mean, he was a former NASCAR Truck Series Rookie of the Year, in fact, if you go back to the early days in his career. I think he might have even won a race in Michigan in the Truck Series, if memory serves.
He did have one win, didn't he? He did 53 races. I think he had 30-odd appearances in Xfinity as well, but now he's on the attack. I think with a driver with less experience than Colin, you'd really want to pounce, because otherwise you can sometimes get into the rhythm of the car in front of you. But I think Colin's got enough experience not to let that happen. But even so, you don't want to wait around too long. If there's suddenly a late race caution, you may not have the opportunity. So he's got to pounce quickly here.
On took the early dive to the apex, forcing Brown to try and go around the outside, and he was able to roll enough speed to get alongside through turn 12, and that's job done. Colin Brown up to P2 around Marcelo Hahn, and that puts him up one more position. Crown strike by Riley. It'll be a partial schedule this year, but that team has lost nothing in terms of its speed and execution.
Yeah, and Colin's been up on the wheel. His fast lap is only a tenth slower than Foley's, and some of that has been in traffic as well.
Burton really struggling, I think, on the old tires right now. Just lost his spot to Aaron Telitz. That drops him to 6th. Michael Cooper is in the Aston Martin right behind and has him lined up here to try and get to the 7th spot. Darren Turner, by the way, is still fending off Tom Sargent back in 8th and 9th as Cooper goes side by side with Burton, and there's just nothing left that Burton can do.
Yeah, he's just really struggling here. I'm sure his confidence is sapped every time he tries to lean on the car right now. It's probably snapping on him. He's got probably very little traction off the low-speed corners as well. So lesson learned. They tried some. They rolled the dice. Looks like it hasn't worked out. Really cool to see Aaron Thielitz and Archangel Motorsports, along with Todd Coleman, who started this race, having a solid run here up in the top 5 in Pro-Am. Running the sole McLaren in the field this year. 8 different manufacturers in the championship this year. Great stuff.
It's awesome. Just about anything you could imagine. If it's a sports car brand, it's probably here this season. Fans here trackside enjoying.
Leader's going through traffic here, but it doesn't look like that's helped Connor De Filippi's cause. Grenier's got a good run through here. Needs Michael Cooper to hustle or let him by quickly. Can't afford to hang around. Lights are flashing. He knows this is a critical phase in this race with just over 5 minutes to go.
But Michael won't want to roll over here because Aaron Thielitz isn't too far ahead, and that is for position. There's Thielitz down into turn 11. It's a lot to overcome, but one little mishap and suddenly you're there. Meanwhile, Grenier had plenty of pace in that JMF Mercedes, able to dive to the inside and made that look easier than I anticipated it would be.
Mercedes always so good into the brake zone, so I think you recognize this is a critical moment here. I can't afford to waste any time. Otherwise, Connor's going to get aggressive right behind him. And you know, for Connor De Filippi, he's feisty. He's not going to have given up on this task. They came in as the pre-championship favorites for that lineup of Kenton and Connor. And this Random Vandals machine that debuted mid-season last year with immediate speed. Got a great engineering group, led by Nathan McBride. Paul Sparta has given them all of the resources necessary to compete at the highest level.
Wonder if Paul's sticking around to watch the end or if he's headed back to the paddock to jump in his car because he's up next.
Coming up quickly.
Pirelli GT4 America, capping off a busy day of racing here at Sonoma.
This is Sherman. This is for position. This is for the final podium spot. So Sherman's got his eyes set on Hahn here.
Great stuff from Isaac Sherman. This deal came together about 3 weeks ago to run in GT World Challenge America for CRP Racing. They did do a test at Sebring, and the team just raved about Isaac Sherman and the pace that he had. Jason Daskalos ran a great opening stint too, put that car in top 5 contention. Sherman has been doing the rest. Can he get them on the podium, though?
Running that big arc, Ferrari gets in really shallow there, runs out wide on the exit of turn 4. It's going to give Sherman a bit of a run here. I really feel he can be a revelation of the season based on his performances in GT4 last year. And this could be his first podium. It's there for the taking. How bad does he want it with just over 3 minutes to go?
Handful of laps left in the season opener, the curtain raiser for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS.
Hans in deep again. He's really overdriving the race car right now, making little mistakes. Got in super deep to turn 7 there, just recovered in the nick of time.
It was an awkward moment between the two. Looked like Sherman thought about making the lunge. Hans saw him coming, and the two took evasive action.
Just got to set him up here. Late cut through here. Power down early, then be committed into that brake zone. But I think Hahn's going to try and protect it early.
This Mercedes very good on the brakes. We've seen Hahn defensive in this corner before, but Colin Brown showed if you could stay to the outside, then the track comes back at you. It's not going to work this time. Sherman has to dig deep. 2.5 minutes left.
This is a fascinating battle here. I think Sherman's got the speed, but Hahn's got the defensive driving skills at this point. He's just got to stop making the little errors. It's all about just keeping the car poised on the racing line. Make it hard for him to get around. Don't make the mistake. Don't open the door for him. He can't drive over the top of you. Just hit your marks with so little time left on the clock.
Nice four-wheel slide at the top of the hill there for Sherman. Sitting right in the tire tracks of the Ferrari. Sun starting to dip low behind the hills here in Northern California, but the action still fierce on the track. Through the carousel one more time. Ferrari and Mercedes, one of the newest GT3 cars in the field up against one of the oldest, the venerable Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo.
Hahn did a nice job there, really controlled his braking very nicely. Sherman's trying to set him up here, a little bit wider through turn 7, but it's hard to pass here through the S's. So Hahn really tidied things up. Just over a minute to go. Couple of laps for these drivers to fight it out.
All it takes is one mistake, and this is a tough place. It's not hard to make that small little error that could be the difference of standing on the podium, spraying champagne, or having to regroup and try for it again tomorrow. Hahn in the Ferrari, Sherman in the Mercedes, looking left, looking right, still no path through, trying to grab the final step at the Pro-Am podium.
That Ferrari really gets the power down well off of that hairpin turn and kind of gaps the Mercedes a little bit on this acceleration run across the stripe.
This is happening well behind the overall leader. It's still Mikhail Grenier from JMF Motorsports by a second over Connor DeFilippi from Random Vandals Racing. It could be 2 on the podium for Random Vandals as they run with Varun Choksi from the back of the pack. That car all the way up to 3rd in class as well as overall. But we are fixated on this fight right here. Marcelo Hahn, 3rd in Pro-Am, Isaac Sherman trying to take it away as the white flag waves above Sonoma Raceway. Mikhail Grenier, JMF Motorsports. Can they win on debut?
Both drivers absolutely on the limit here. Connor DeFilippi digging deep. What can he find here over this last remaining tour around Sonoma Raceway to try and grab that victory here?
A couple of years ago, RS1 turned up at the season opener in Sonoma, their first ever GT3 race. A brand new lineup, Eric Filgueras, Stephen McAleer. They came out of the gates and won race 1 at Sonoma, went on to win a championship. That's exactly what JMF Motorsports has in its minds as well. With Mikhail Grenier and Mackay Stevens, they're half a lap away.
Who's going to stand on the podium here? How badly does Sherman want it? How aggressive will he be? Bob and weave there into the brake zone. Looks to the high side. That's not going to work with that traction of the Ferrari coming off here. He's got to rethink his strategy here with just a lap to go.
White flag waves on this fight for 3rd place in Pro-Am. Grenier leads over DeFilippi. The leader in Pro-Am is Robbie Foley by about 5 seconds over Colin Brown. Boy, Connor DeFilippi is pushing, kicking up some dirt there on corner exit, trying to find the pace required to run down the Mercedes, but it doesn't look like he's got it today. Perfect execution from JMF Motorsports. The Mercedes, piloted by Mikhail Grenier and Mackay Stevens, kicks open the door with a debut win in GT World Challenge America. John Farrow loving what he's seeing. They are GT3 race winners.
Amazing. What a performance by that whole group. Didn't put a foot wrong. Brilliant job by Mackay Stevens in the opening salvo there. Great pit stop by that group. Mikhail Grenier, once he got those tires up to temperature, just held off the charging Connor DeFilippi.
And a charge as well from Turner Motorsport. How about it? Robbie Foley picking up the baton from Justin Rothberg. He had to run down Jeff Burton, who inherited the lead on the alternate strategy after Philip Ellis started the race. And he picked up that lead and didn't look back. Robbie Foley, Justin Rothberg, the reigning Pro-Am champions, backing it up with a race win to start 2025. Fight for 3rd still on. Colin Brown has secured 2nd in class. Can Marcelo Hahn hold off Isaac Sherman? It looks like he can. AF Corsa with its Brazilian pairing. Hand out the window, fist in the air. Marcelo Hahn holds on for the podium. He'll share it with Alam Kodair.
That was a great job by Hahn there to hold the charging Isaac Sherman off. I thought he had enough pace in that Mercedes, but struggled to find the gap. And Marcelo was really strong in his defense there. You see Grenier picking up as much marble and rubber as he can, add a little bit of weight for post-race tech, add to the ride height. Have to think about that pit stop by Random Vandals, what that cost them there, 4.5 seconds outside the minimum there, and that could have been the game changer in terms of who claimed the victory here today.
No, you're quite right. It came down to execution in the pits for the the 99 car. Meanwhile, the 51, it had its post-race penalty, but Choksi was able to build enough of a gap over Halen that he still secured
easily
that 3rd spot, and that speaks volumes to Varun's development. That's another podium for him, and it just feels like a matter of time until they get their first win. And a look briefly there at the AM class entry from AF Corsa as well. But your winners in the Pro class, JMF Motorsports. In the Pro-Am class, Turner Motorsport. Just outstanding work from the pair of them. Wonderful way to start the season, and what a great race to begin the year. We all came in with high hopes when we looked at the entry list. We saw the deeper grid, we saw some interesting lineups, some fresh faces, some question marks, quite frankly, in some of the lineups as well. Plus the change in the regulations, opening up some opportunities for teams to take advantage. And my oh my, what a great start.
Yeah, some big surprises. Certainly JMF grabbing a victory. We knew the quality of the drivers and the whole group there, but to do it on debut, that was a big surprise. And I think when you look at Random Vandals filling out the podium, I think the surprise there is that the pairing of Choxy and Orblin were so close to their teammates. I mean, Choxy was really fast in his lap times. Bill was on a tear in that opening stance, so that's going to be fun inter-team rivalry there.
Especially if they don't have to start at the back like they did today. Just remarkable. These are the results from race 1 of 2025 in GT World Challenge America. Mackay Stevens and Mikhail Grenier, your overall winners by 0.6 of a second. Random Vandals so close to that first GT3 win, but they'll have to settle for a double podium, second and third here in the season opener. Rothberg and Foley, champions last year. It was in dramatic fashion in the Pro-Am class. It's a deeper Pro-Am field this year. They've spoken about how they know it's going to be a bigger challenge in 2025, but they start off right where they left off with a victory, narrowly ahead of Kurtz and Brown. Kodair and Hahn, strong debut from them as well. Those were two we didn't know a ton about coming in. The resumes looked strong. They read the rule book clearly. They knew how to use the alternate strategy, and that could keep them very much in the mix.
Yeah, they were really impressive here today, particularly on a track that is probably not the best for the Ferrari, so that bodes well for their championship future.
How about it? Isaac Sherman, GT4 champion, GT America last year, pairing up with Jason Daskalos, who nearly won the SRO3 championship there last year, just off the podium in their first race together. Well, Victory Lane's a busy place already. Mikhail Grenier's out of his car. There's Robbie Foley celebrating a victory with Justin Rothberg, and of course Oz Negri, Jay Schreibman as well. We'll get to celebrate on the top step in the AM class. Very shortly, we'll get to hear from all of them. In fact, we can do it now. Let's head to the JMF Motorsports pairing, who's standing by with Amanda.
All right, I keep asking where Mackay Stevens is. I did get to watch him and John taking in the win as it was, but I'm hearing they're still celebrating on pit lane, so hopefully they'll make it before this interview is over, and I can't wait for you to see your team. There were tears in the eyes of John Farrow. Why does this pairing work so well?
Well, Mikai, I call him a whole young man because he's 32, 33, but he's young in motorsport and he knows how to drive, and I think it's quite emotional for the team because they gave him a chance. Never had the budget to race, and John is paying everything for him. So yeah, that's great. Here he is. He did a mega job to start the race as well, so it's great for everyone, and first race in GT3 as well.
Mackay, we talked to you on pit lane as you were counting down the minutes to this moment. You said if it was your day, it was your day. Why did the racing gods favor you?
I think they're just paying homage to people doing things for the right reasons, and that's all a testament to Mr. Farrell, everybody that supports him, the SRO organization, Mercedes-AMG. It's just really, it's a family affair, and as you can see, it's reminding people as to why they started in the very beginning. It's very heartfelt, very rewarding, and congratulations to John. Thank you.
Ryan, as you told his story, and in Mackay's case, good things happen to good people. And as we get over to Robbie Foley, who you chased down Jeff Burton, and then you were just gone. How great does this new BMW feel?
Yeah, it's awesome. We had a great new M4 GT3 Evo today. Obviously, a brand new car for us. A good improvement over the winter from BMW to yeah, give us a great car today. The guys at Turner gave me a great setup, and yeah, we tried to set sail. It got interesting at the end with Colin catching us. I was behind this group. I didn't want to get in their race, but yeah, great day.
Well, just real quickly, I wanted to walk over to Justin Rothberg. He's signing autographs, and I am going off air quickly, Justin, but the story was seat time for you. You showed up yesterday, and you get the win here. How quickly were you able to develop?
That was great. I was really nervous coming into this weekend. I had not touched a car since October. Haven't even driven a go-kart, nothing. So to come back, get up to pace in one day, and then for Robbie and I to do this. It just feels amazing, making me feel really good about the season. I'm excited to see what happens.
All right, he's back to signing autographs, so I'm going to get our AM winners in here as well, and I want to go straight. I know you guys had some frustrations at the start of the race, but you said you were happy with your stint today at a track that you don't like. How did you do it, Jay?
Super happy, Amanda. Thank you. We could not be more grateful. Our sponsors, my coach, my brother Ozzy, of course the team, just tried to keep it safe, stay on the line, not do too much trouble.
Congratulations to everyone here at Sonoma in race number 1. We will see you tomorrow, race number 2 at Sonoma Raceway.